Welcome to Patriot TV. I'm your host, Janet Palumbi. I invite you to join me as we discuss news and current events, local and worldwide, all from a faith-based perspective. Now, I am not in the studio today. I happen to be in my camper, my fifth wheel RV. I had originally planned to do a very different show from our Patriot TV studios today, but for reasons that are very personal to me, I decided to postpone my originally planned show so I could revisit one of my previous show topics, the war on our kids. Why is this such a personal topic for me? Well, I have a little grandson, the light of my life and Dean's life. He is turning 4 this week, and we have promised him for a year now that we would take him camping for his 4th birthday. He loves to camp. He means everything to us. He is precious. And I take this war on our children very, very personally. Mostly because I have a grandson that I care about and love, and I want a better future for him. And this country is coming apart at the seams. So we need to fight for all the children of the world and for my grandson. Well, I mentioned that my grandson is having a birthday this week. We're taking him camping. We bought our first pop-up camper when he was 1 year old. He hopped in that camper and was so excited, and we had to have this for him because we wanted to be a huge part of his life. Well, he loved camping so much that we upgraded almost immediately to a travel trailer. He had his own little bunk room in the travel trailer. And about a year later, my daughter, his mama, started enjoying camping with us. Her husband works a lot of hours, and she decided she would start camping with us. So we kind of outgrew the travel trailer, and we upgraded to a fifth wheel. In the fifth wheel, he has his own little room back here. His mama has plenty of space here. We have our room. And why am I sharing this with you? Well, let me read a bit from thelife.com from an article titled The Godly Role of Parents and Grandparents. 2 Timothy 1:5 reads, I have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. If Timothy's grandmother Lois had not been faithful in passing on her faith to her daughter Eunice and her grandson Timothy, we probably would not have 1st and 2nd Timothy in the Bible. This is a good generational example of the importance of passing on the faith to future generations. Lois is our forerunner who modeled grandparenting for us. Isn't it interesting that nowhere in the Bible does it say that the church has the primary responsibility to pass on our faith to the next generation? It makes it clear that parents and grandparents are the principal conduit to instruct their children about God and His love for them. The Bible also makes it very clear that the state should not have any control over our children and our grandchildren. Of course, the state doesn't care about what the Bible says. They care only about indoctrinating our children. And who's that for? The benefit of the state. Parenting and grandparenting is really hard. We have to rely on God more than ever to hold back the darkness and evil that is shaking our children or stalking our children all the time and everywhere. Proverbs 27:19 reads, As a face is reflected in water, so the heart reflects the real person. As we invest in our own walk with the Lord, we are spiritually investing in the lives of our children and grandchildren and modeling a godly example. So this is the kind of stuff that they're pushing on our sons and our daughters, but this is mostly about a study that shows that men look more masculine when they wear makeup. What study? Whose study? First of all, I thought that men didn't want to look or be masculine anymore. That's been proven recently with the big thing that's going on all about Bud Light. Dylan Mulvaney is on a Bud Light can. Yes, God made Dylan Mulvaney a man, a biological man. No matter how much makeup or mutilation they do to their bodies, we are still born man or woman. Since the world loves science so much now, let's look at the definition of male and female from a scientific perspective. In the study of human subjects, the term sex should be used as a classification, generally as male or female according to the reproductive organs and functions that derive from chromosomal complement, generally XX for female and XY for male. The two sexes are differentiated as females who have ovaries and produce eggs, and males who have testes and produce sperm. God gave us an XX or an XY. That's just the way it is. I don't care what you cut off or add or do to your body, you still will always have the XX or the XY chromosome that God gave you when you were born, a biological male or female. You can't change that. And that's science. I know the world loves science so much right now. That is scientific fact. So, what does the Bible say about man and woman? Deuteronomy 22:5 reads, "A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God." Leviticus 20:13 reads, "If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them." What's that word that you heard twice in a row? Abomination. This is an abomination to the Lord. Matthew 10:4 reads, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female?" Just two, male and female. Well, this is all pretty clear. Anything regarding male and female outside of God's plan is an abomination. So we started camping with our grandson when he was 1 year old, as I said, so that we could be a huge part of his life. We love to give gifts to our kids and grandkids. The material things that we leave them are temporary, but the time that we spend with them and the prayers and examples can make a significant impact on them for a lifetime. These kids today have so much against them, and many parents on the left and many parents in the church are not protecting them from the darkness and the evil. Some are even embracing and encouraging their kids to run to the path that leads to hell. A familiar company to many called Build-A-Bear. We have gotten bears for our grandson there in the past. Well, this is some of the things that are facing our kids today. Now a company, Build-A-Bear, that makes sweet toys for little children to cuddle is producing a drag queen stuffed animal fashioned after RuPaul, a popular person in the drag queen world, complete with optional whipped cream accessories also available. We must start taking a stand against these totally woke companies. I know it's impossible to stand against them all. If we could stand against them all, we would probably have to give up food, drink, eating, drinking, shoes, clothing to wear, cars, entertainment, movies, television, theme parks, zoos, boats, just about everything. We'd have to give it all up. All of that would pretty much be off the table. We wouldn't be able to fly, travel by car, boat, train. I can go on. I know we can't boycott them all because big corporation and big pharma and the globalists that have taken over everything, they own everything. And we let them take over, by the way. And the church let them take over. But when there is an obvious choice such as Build-A-Bear, we should say no. We will not be taking our grandson to buy any more bears at Build-A-Bear. No thank you. He doesn't need a bear that badly. Today's show is about how we begin to win the battle against the war on our kids. I did a show a few weeks ago on the battle on or the war against our children. We can win this battle, but we have to start somewhere. The church has to get involved in winning the battle against the war on our children. Another thing that is against our children, I'm going to tell you a few of the things that are against our children today. A camp in California is offering a free, kids free, everybody likes that word free, a free kids drag workshop for kids as young as 8 years old. But we're not allowed to call them groomers. What kind of a parent or grandparent would send their kids to a camp like this? Just saying. Jill Simonian is the Director of Outreach for PragerU Resources for Educators and Parents and PragerU Kids. She's also a former educator. She has some advice on how parents can fight back against the woke school system. Number 1, opt your children out of SEL, which stands for Social Emotional Learning surveys, sex ed and diversity, equity and inclusion programs, and these all have 3-letter, we love all the 3 letters right now. We need to get rid of a lot of the 3 letters. The FBI, the CIA, and in our schools, we need to get rid of social emotional learning surveys and diversity, equity, and inclusion program activities. Number 2, file a Freedom of Information Act request, which requires disclosure of public records upon request and is valid in all 50 states. Number 3, donate good books. Number 4, really, really, really important, teach your children and grandchildren knowledge at home. Knowledge from the Bible. Knowledge from God's Word. Not the indoctrination that the schools are pouring into them. I found this post on Facebook a couple days ago from a grandparent titled, "My granddaughter is going to end up in hell if I don't do something soon." It was a long post, so I'll just read you a few of the highlights. Every Sunday morning, it's the same argument. "I don't want to go to church, Grandma. Why do you make me do this? I'm a good Christian grandma, just trying to do my best. Why do I feel like I'm failing? I just want my grandkids to love Jesus. Pastor Stevens gave me a book called Seasons of Life and said, the Bible can be tough for even me as a pastor to understand sometimes. Much to my joy, my granddaughter became obsessed with the stories that she received in this book and started asking all sorts of questions about Christianity. I went to the publisher's website and got some other Christian children's book. This particular publisher was puppydogsandicecream.com. Well, another Christian book company called Brave Books has been circulating our country right now. Kirk Cameron has been touring and pushing Brave Books in the libraries, kind of in retaliation to the Drag Queen Story Hours. Well, a few weeks ago I talked about Kirk Cameron and Brave Books. He and swim champion Riley Gaines and Missy Robertson from Duck Dynasty were harassed by library staff at his faith-based story hour in Hendersonville, Tennessee on February 25th. Parents need to stop being okay with so-called innocent, family-friendly drag queen story hours and stop supporting these events and start supporting the events like the ones that Kirk Cameron is doing. Let's talk briefly about what has happened to some of the conservative contributors and speakers that have authored books and are traveling around the country right now with Kirk Cameron on the Brave Book Tour. University of Kentucky College swimming champion Riley Gaines was recently attacked by trans rights activists during a speech about protecting women's sports at San Francisco State University. Chaya Raichik, Libs of TikTok, is a far-right and anti-LGBT Twitter account owned by Chaya Raichik. It reposts content created by left-wing and LGBT people on TikTok and other social media platforms. Well, recently, Chaya has received quite a lot of threats, including death threats. She, is quoted as saying, "It was scary at first. The name-calling, the harassment, the bullying. But if you're not getting attacked, whether in the form of death threats or name-calling, harassment, insulting, and bullying, then I think you're doing something wrong." Chaya's book, No More Secrets, is published by Brave Books, and it teaches your children to always trust their moms and dads and never keep important secrets from them. That's not what they're being taught in school. The teachers are actually saying to the children in school, don't tell your mommy and daddy, your secret is safe with me. Well, Chaya wrote this book to counter culture that culture that they're shoving down your children's throats in the school system. Violence against Riley, violence against Chaya, but we're the violent ones on the right. I think not. This leads me, though, to my wins of the week. I always like to end a show with some wins. The Tennessee librarian that tried to relocate Kirk Cameron and Riley Gaines and Missy Robertson during their Brave Books tour is now out of a job. Fired. I don't like to see people get fired, but when they do what they did, they deserve to be fired. That's a win for the right. There's a new movie coming out this week called Nefarious. Steve Dace had a lot to do with this new movie, Nefarious. It's actually, it's a horror movie. It's a Christian horror movie, which I thought was quite interesting. Well, Steve Dace was rushed to the hospital this week with a serious infection. And according to his wife, he is never sick. He's only missed, apparently, one day of work prior to this. I think it was Christmas. He missed a day of work or something. But he was rushed to the hospital with a serious infection. Really, really scary. He was very, very, very sick. Well, interestingly enough, his movie, the faith-based horror film with a strong Christian worldview, is set to open, I believe, on Friday. I believe today. Coincidence? I think not. This movie depicts the age-old battle between God and Satan's world of demonic evil. This was a direct hit from the devil himself, I believe. Friends came and prayed over Steve, and he's home and recovering. Just as in the movie, God is clearly always more powerful and will always win over the devil. I've read the end of the story. We win in the end. Another win. Everybody's been watching the Bud Light fiasco, whether you drink, whether you don't drink. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about a celebration of a biological man that is celebrating 365 days of being a girl, and not just a woman, a little girl. Dylan Mulvaney pretends to be a little girl. He lives in a little pink bedroom, and this goes far beyond him just wanting to be a woman. Well, Bud Light, I don't know why Bud Light did this, because the way Dylan Mulvaney acts, he's really not old enough to drink, because he acts like a 6-year-old. I didn't think 6-year-olds could drink. But they put Dylan Mulvaney's picture on a Bud Light can. Bud Light's Dylan Mulvaney trans stunt cost the company $4 billion. Now, this just happened. And we were in the store the other day, and I will tell you, the beer section was empty on one side, and the other side was completely full of all Bud products. No one was buying the Bud products at Walmart. I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the VP of marketing that came up with this brilliant idea, there's a video swirling around out there, you can find it, she has been fired. Now, I don't know that that's true, but she's definitely under attack for what she did with this marketing campaign. So our best win yet this week, this is baby Olivia. This is a picture of baby Olivia. Baby Olivia will give North Dakota students a window to the womb. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum this week signed into law HB 1265. This bill passed by the Senate in a 37-9 vote. It mandates that schools show a medically accurate, cutting-edge, high-definition video in the classroom to educate students on preborn human development in each week of pregnancy until birth. The model video is known as Baby Olivia. Human development in the womb is obviously part of science. That's how they did this. They used science, which everyone loves, something we want our children to learn and see, a divine concept. Many mistakenly believe that most prenatal development occurs late in pregnancy, but in fact, babies, even in the first trimester, are rapidly developing and amazingly complex. At 2 weeks, the baby's brain appears with its 3 divisions, and a heart is developing. beginning to beat between 16 and 22 days. At 4 to 5 weeks, the eyes and lungs appear and kidneys form. At 6 to 7 weeks, brain waves begin, and hands, feet, and little limbs appear and begin to move. The heart has become 4-chambered as well. Around 9 weeks, a baby girl will have already developed ovaries with eggs in them and can suck her thumb, move her tongue, and open her mouth. Right and left-handedness emerges also at 9 weeks. Showing fetal development through the use of tools like baby Olivia will give students a window into the womb. I'm a big fan of Dan Bongino, and he advertises for Preborn on his show often. Well, Preborn is all about ultrasounds, and Preborn has demonstrated that after abortion-minded women see an ultrasound, the chances of them choosing to continue their pregnancy increase from 40 to 80%. That's huge. This is a huge win. Yay for North Dakota. Shepherding our children has become harder than it ever has been. I raised 2 children. I'm helping every second I can to raise my grandson. When my kids were in school, it wasn't as difficult. It has become, it's just a total battle. Satan is just everywhere on this earth. He has been released, and God's allowing it for a time. But we begin to win when we begin to fight. Many in the church, they're not even fighting. They're just sitting back saying nothing. It's not what they say, it's what they don't say. I talked to a friend at church this week who left a big mega church here in Tennessee, and I asked her, do they even talk about abortion? She said, no, they didn't even mention it when Roe v. Wade came down. And I remember where I was that night. I was at a revival in my church, and the minute that happened, we all cheered. We were so happy, so excited. These churches aren't even addressing issues like abortion. Shame on them. Turning a blind eye and deaf ears against the darkness, it won't make the evil go away. The devil is here to stay until Jesus returns and takes him out. And he will take him out. He has free reign to destroy our children, but only if we let him. We attended the Flashpoint Live event a few months ago, my husband and I, in Brownsville, Pensacola. This event took place at the church where the Brownsville revival took place in 1995 at the Brownsville Assembly of God Church. This was an awesome event, also great material for a future show for me. This event took place on Mardi Gras weekend, which I didn't realize we were going for the event. I didn't even realize it was Mardi Gras weekend until we got there. And we decided to stay a few extra days. We stayed for the weekend and decided to wander into downtown Pensacola. Well, we found ourselves in the middle of several Mardi Gras parades in the Pensacola area. There is a lot of talk of how revival is great, but if we don't take it to the streets, this is what Lance Wallnau has been quoted, a revival can touch a nation, but cannot occupy it. Only Jesus can do that. We need to get out on the streets, 1-to-1, and be like Jesus. We need to be face to face with others not like us, outside of the church walls. Well, when I was in Pensacola, I saw a tremendous need for that. Here we were, just a short way away from the Mardi Gras parades that were going on, and this huge revival was taking place. This huge Flashpoint event was taking place where the Brownsville revival took place, and there was such a need to be in those streets. At the end of this month, something called the Shrek Fest event is happening in Pensacola. That's why I bring this up. Shrek, innocent children's movie, great movie. My kids loved it. Well, I am still amazed at the depth to which our nation has fallen in such a short period of time. This innocent event is not an innocent event. Look how they're enticing our children, just like the witch in Hansel and Gretel. Let's bring them along. This post says that this is not an adult event. There'll be an adult event. There'll be a rave at night. But during the day, they plan to have drag queens, and right in the open, on the streets of Pensacola, will be this Shrek event to try again to entice and indoctrinate our children. Shame on you, especially Christian parents. If you take your children and your grandchildren to an event like this, shame on you. We should all know better. We must protect our children. Psalm 128 reads, "How joyful are those who fear the Lord, all who follow his ways. You will enjoy the fruit of your labor. How joyful and prosperous you will be. Your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing within your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees as they sit around your table. That is the Lord's blessing for those who serve him. May the Lord continually bless you from Zion. May you see Jerusalem prosper as long as you live. May you live to enjoy your grandchildren." We just celebrated Easter this weekend with my family, and around my table sat my children, my adult children, and my son-in-law, and my son's beautiful girlfriend, and my grandson, and my elderly parents, and my son's girlfriend's parents. This is what you get if you follow those words from Psalm 128. You can enjoy the fruits of this. May you live to enjoy your grandchildren. 3 John 1 through 4 reads, "I could have no greater joy than to hear that my children are following the truth." I want to read a few words from the prophet Hank Kunneman. We are in the season of Passover right now, and prophetically we feel the Lord is saying that it is time for us to serve notice on the enemy, that our families are off limits. Since you are one of God's choice vessels, you are also a target of the enemy, but you will be protected from the devil's assaults. In Joshua 2 we read that Rahab spared the lives of the 2 Hebrew spies who were plotting the overthrow of Jericho. In return, she requested that she and her family would be allowed to make it out safely. The spies instructed her to hold a scarlet thread out her window when Jericho was under attack. This would be her sure guarantee for protection. Jesus' blood is our protection from the enemy. It is Jesus' blood that seals an agreement between you and God that his protection is over you and your family. Hebrews 9:20 says this. It was the lamb's blood, the scarlet thread, that meant the house was off limits to the spirit of death during Passover. Declare right now that your house is inaccessible to the enemy because God has guaranteed your family protection by the blood of the Lamb. This week, I will focus on my grandson. We'll fish with him, swim with him, ride scooters with him. We'll read stories with him and pray with him. We'll celebrate his life and the 4 beautiful years that he's been on this earth. We'll show him how a man should treat a woman and how a woman should treat a man. God tells husbands to love their wives, Ephesians 5:25-28 through 28, and fathers not to provoke their children to anger, but teach them to obey God's words. Colossians 3:21, Titus 2:4-5 teaches us that younger women are to be taught by older women to bear children, love their husbands, and guide the home, teaching their children to honor God's word. I want to end today with a short portion of the lyrics from one of my favorite worship songs, The Blessing. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. We sing this often, and I literally tear up in church. I'm almost tearing up now. That is our goal in life, to honor our God so that his favor will be upon our families. My children and my grandson belong to God. I will fight this war daily. The devil cannot have my family. I hope that you will join me in this war against our kids and our families. Thank you for joining me today. I welcome you to tune in every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're called to stay busy and occupy until he comes. I'll be here every week to inform, encourage, and ignite in the spirit of faith. I'm Janet Palumbi. See you next time on Patriot TV.